The clothes are slowly shrinking.
The clothes are shrinking, but it's like they're no longer boxes. They look like...
They were like, we figured out how to make curves. Put all the curves. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Pointless Discourse with myself, Hoppocalypse, and Itisdpayne.
Now, without 100% coughs, mainly just 10% normal.
Maybe.
I don't know if that math checks out, but I also almost failed middle school and high school because of math. I realized, you know what? If they just let me play D&D or... Well, I probably wouldn't have played Pathfinder at the time, but if they let me play these games, I probably would have learned math.
You'd have been forced to. They were like, all right, how much damage did you do? You'd be like, hold on.
Well, yeah, I think it would have stuck in my head easier.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah. So, here we are.
once
watching
again.
Shows. I think the target audience is middle schoolers.
How
Segue. Watching more Gravity Falls.
Is that what Disney XD was?
I think it was meant for like, or maybe like teenagers, like a little bit of an older. I don't know.
I'm gonna
Let's see if I
Google it
can
with
find
my
a mission statement.
now with a browser that works. Who was Disney XD geared for?
Okay, so I found an answer. Let me know if you find an answer.
Well, I don't want to look anymore if you found an answer. So
Mine
you
isn't
just
an
tell me.
official answer. It's just someone on Reddit was saying Disney XD's programming is aimed at older kids and preteens, while Disney Channel is meant for younger kids.
Under Wikipedia, it says the channel offers an alternate Spanish language audio field. Field. The channel is primarily aimed at older children ages 6 to 11 years old.
Yeah, middle school.
They're weird.
Disney XD is weird, or kids in middle school are weird?
Both.
Yes. Okay. Very fair. So then, where are we in our fun facts, Itisdpayne?
Number 10. We are now at the 1/4 mark of this list. And also, it's cracking me up because the next one is literally something that I have said on this podcast. But anyway, that will be for next episode.
Tune in then.
Yeah. Or else. Oh, I only got one crack. Oh. Kristen Shaw, I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right, was always the first choice for Mabel. Hirsch always had Kristen in mind to play the role of Mabel. He once said in an interview, "In terms of Mabel, I knew from the get-go that it's got to be Kristen Shaw or there's no show. The actress' distinctive voice could be heard in several movies and shows such as Despicable Me 2 and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2. Also, the Flight of the Conchords TV show.
Yes, I do remember her in that.
She is my first that was my first introduction to her, and that has been the only thing that comes up to my head, like that comes to mind when I think of her.
Oh, I watch a lot of Bob's Burgers, so I think of that now. It's not Bob's Burgers is not the first time I've heard of her, but it's what I mainly think of.
Who is she in that?
Louise, the
Is
one with the
that-
bunny hat.
Okay, the one with the this one.
This one. I thought bunny hat would have been a good enough description to help her stand out.
I don't watch Bob's Burgers. I've seen this GIF multiple times.
Yes, that is her. This is another good example.
Mm-hmm. This is really good for the audio
Portion, yes.
Yeah. The GIF I shared was, I forgot her name already. Girl just laughing maniacally in front of fire, and then Hop sent me one. Her sniffing a lady with text saying, "I smell fear on you."
Yes, that is Louise.
So.
Yeah. Fun fact. So yeah, as Dpayne was saying, a quarter of the way through the facts, which means we're a quarter of the way through the show, which means we're here at episode 10 called Fight Fighters.
I do have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
My brain was like just kind of thinking of fun like little intro questions that to the topic, and I know we talked about this before slightly, so like I know a little bit of your fighting game history.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was mentioning to this guy at work that we were watching this episode, he kept saying this game was like Mortal Kombat, and I didn't have the heart to tell him he was dead wrong.
Street Fighter.
Yes, it was definitely Street Fighter, but he is a man in his, I think, lower 60s. I'm like, I'm not going to correct this man on a video game that I'll know he'll never touch. I'm just going to let him have it.
But it's interesting that he knows about Mortal Kombat, but not about Street Fighter.
I think he might know. Yeah.
Era. It'd be different if you were like, no, it's actually like Injustice. It's like, no, there's no way he would know anything about that one.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think he probably would know, but it's like, I'm not going to die on this hill of correcting this
and having
dude.
To explain the differences and the references. Yeah.
Like, I already confused him about talking about tabletop role-playing stuff out of the blue, which he's very kind to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to
explain the nuances of different fighting systems to him.
So, but yes, I still do remember the story you telling me of you pretty much ruining one of the fighting games for Strider, where he was like, I don't want to play this anymore with you because you just sat there and learned all the combos.
That was Injustice too.
It was Injustice. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember the game. But is there a fighting game that it could be new or old that you're just like, or it could be Injustice, like this, which is old at this point, that you're like, oh man, this just looks like you want to play it, or is like you did enjoy playing it?
My first memory of like playing a fighting game and not just like at a friend's house but actually enjoying it is, I think, Soul Calibur 2, where I actually wanted to go through
that is a good one.
Yeah, go through and play all the branching storylines. And I also found Soul Calibur 2 really interesting, but I also forced myself to play the girl with the hula hoop, so I would always accidentally switch forms and go, oh, I messed up, because then all the combos reset and all that messes up because she switched.
Is that Mira?
I forget her name.
I'll look it up. Yeah.
Hula hoop lady from Soul Calibur. That should be enough. Tira. What'd I say? Mira? Yeah.
It was close. I really enjoyed Talon. I liked her combos.
Yeah, with her tonfas? Yes.
Tonfas, yeah. She was fun.
I did like her because she's a very fast character. Mm-hmm. And that's what I tend to play, the really agile characters. I remember trying to learn the biggest boy, the main plot point.
Nightmare?
Yes. And I would just swing and then get hit 50 times. I was like, no, I can't manage this.
Yeah, no, I did play a little bit of Nightmare. I did like him, but Mitsurugi was the only one that like now looking back at it, I realized I learned combos.
That's fair. Yeah, I remember I tried learning Yoshimitsu because I thought he was a very fun character, and then I kept committing seppuku. I was like, no, it's okay. I'm done.
Yeah, and then just pogo stick right off the stage, and you're like, all right.
Yeah, I'm done with this.
And then there's the creepy boy,
yeah.
old Voldo, and you're like, I'm uncomfy every time you're on the screen.
Yeah, Voldo's the one character that I was just like, I'm not gonna learn anything from this guy because he just
he's got a real messed up backstory.
Yes,
he's real disgusting. And then of course, like in the new one, as you can customize.
Make custom characters and.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of people take the Voldo fighting thing, and well. If you know the game, I'll just leave it up to imagination of when you can place anything that you want in any location on the body.
Yes. So, what about you? What's your fighting game of choice?
Soul Calibur, like the whole series is really fun. Like I remember I had the Soul Calibur game for Dreamcast, to where I pretty much did the same equivalent that you mentioned with Strider, but to two of my friends, where we played that, and I kept switching between different characters, but they. I think I had a 50 win streak against them, and
They're just like, no, I'm not playing this with you anymore.
Yeah. Actually, on the Dreamcast, there was a lot of fighting games I did enjoy. That's when I played Dead or Alive 2. I don't know how any of the ones after that are, but Dead or Alive 2 was a lot of fun. But
is that the grappling one? Where grappling's a big mechanic?
I don't remember. I think Dead or Alive now is mainly just like, booby girls now. So I don't know if I don't hear a lot of people talk about the mechanics of Dead or Alive.
Yeah, I'm mixing it up with a different game. Dead or Alive, I did not play any of.
I didn't even know what it was. Like, I bought it used, and I thought it was I didn't think it was a fighting game, like, because when I bought it, like, the internet wasn't what it was today, and like on the back of it, I thought it was an RPG, and then so like, and it was like, it said it was the second one. I'm like, but I kept seeing it, and it's like, it didn't have like the box art or anything. It was just a disc, and I'm like, so I just got it one day, and I'm like, okay, and it was fun because every time you put it in the Dreamcast, it sounded like the Dreamcast was going to explode. Which was normal for the Dreamcast.
Another fighting game I remember I really liked growing up is I played a lot of the Dragon Ball Fighter game with my brother.
Oh, yes.
And I did enjoy it because it had a lot of really cool environment interactions that I didn't see in a lot of other ones.
Yeah.
And then the one that Strider got really good at that I wasn't great at was the Marvel vs. Capcom. I think 3 specifically.
Yes. Yeah. No, those ones are pretty neat. I'm trying to think. The only other game... Wait, I lied. I played the new Dead or Alive because I think it was 6. Because I remember me and a few friends, we called it Fighter Fridays because we wanted to try fighting games. And then it turns out that they kept choosing games that they've been playing for years. And then I just wouldn't be able to do anything. And I'm like, this isn't fun.
Yeah. Nah.
So it ended. But nah, I did enjoy Guilty Gear. I did like that one, even if I couldn't really do anything in it. Now I'm drawing a blank. There was one that I really did like, which they got bought by Riot, and they're making Riot's fighting game.
Oh, yeah. I was curious how that was going to turn out. I was scrolling through a list of current fighting games that are supposed to be really good, and that's a description that I sent you about Dead or Alive.
Yeah.
If you want to read it out loud.
I'll read it out loud. I will say real quick, Rising Thunder was the name of the fighting game that was bought by Riot. And it did have combos, but the neat thing is like their specials were just hotkeyed. So instead of like having to put in your specials like to do the things, like you just would do like your basic punch kick combo stuff and then hit like 1, 2, or 3 to do your special, and then it was just on a cooldown, which I wouldn't be surprised if that is similar to how Riot's fighting game is going to be, which I think I might want to give that a try when it comes out. I'll know I'll be terrible. Yeah, Hop just sent me. The Dead or Alive series is a bit of a black sheep in the fighting game community, as some find it shallow and too focused on cheesecake, that is, highlighting the sexual appeal of its cast, to be taken seriously. And I would agree.
That is what you said earlier. You're like,
yes.
I heard that they focus too much on lady bits instead of fighting bits.
And so, well, they do have the beach volleyball game.
Yes. I think that's why I thought it was about grappling, because I think the beach volleyball has weird scenes in it that I've seen clips of, people on YouTube that are like, I'll just play this game, and they go, what is that? I thought this was a volleyball game.
Yeah, so, but, I don't know, the second one, it's really funny because I saw, like, screenshots for Dead or Alive 1, and then Dead or Alive 2. Let's see if I can just find them real quick. maybe we'll start and I'll just send them to you. Well, we have
Okay.
we have started, but it's like uh okay, here we go. I found it real quick. Let's see. Open image, new tab. I have to get used to. Okay, so here's Dead or Alive 1.
Okay. Very, very
then-
classic for Dreamcast type of graphics.
I don't know if that was on the Dreamcast.
Oh, okay.
And then here we go. Here's Dead or Alive 2. On the Dreamcast, which it's like
The clothes are slowly shrinking.
the clothes are shrinking, but it's like they're no longer boxes. They look like
They were like, we figured out how to make curves. Put all the curves. The background can be boxes, though.
yes, it's they knew what they were going for, and then it's like if you just look up Dead or Alive now, then it's just McBoobles. Yep. It's just I think the costume packs cost more than than the actual game at this point.
What is happening in this one screenshot, Itisdpayne?
A grapple. It's I never really liked that character. Like she's one of the new ones, but it's like so these are actually two new characters. That dude's actually really cool. Like he I think he's like cuz in the timeline I think he's like from Pakistan or Iraq or something like that, and he was like a soldier, and then they're just like join the Dead or Alive tournament, and he's like okay. And just like
I love how it's always tournaments.
Yeah. But like this is a new character that seems to show up a lot now, but I don't it's one of the stylized characters that I'm not a big fan of, because it's like it's modeled to be a child. It's like if you look at her, she looks younger, like in the face and everything. And so like it's probably like, no, she's 18. I'm like, oh no, I would probably say 16 at most. But then it's just like all the sexual clothing. I don't remember her name, and I'm just like, I don't like playing at like. She could be a really cool character, but it's just like I don't like using her. Tekken's fun too. Sorry, I just realized
Tekken is fun. I do remember playing Tekken. My brother, I believe, was really big on Virtua Fighter.
Yes, that was a fun one too. My brother keeps sending me pictures of Kirby cat houses, and it looks like Kirby's just eating cats. So there's that. Let's see. Is this the link? So, but yeah, we made it 20 minutes into a side thing that I was only gonna think it was gonna take at most 10.
Yes. So now we roll dice.
Yeah, it's like we play video games.
It's like we're nerds or something.
Gross.
But yes, so I just shouted we roll dice, and that's because I don't think we mentioned it this episode. We were talking about role-playing games earlier, and you said that you talked to the older coworker about tabletop games. But yes, play a lot of tabletop games. So to decide who discusses the episode in these Gravity Falls episodes, we roll a dice. My virtual dice I rolled earlier. I have proof of what it rolled. So Itisdpayne, you can roll your dice.
I did. It's a middling number, slightly above average.
I don't know if you can see it so well on screen, but it decided I'm talking today. No talking for you.
Why didn't this happen 2 weeks ago?
I made the joke earlier that now that Itisdpayne isn't sick, the dice will probably say he's not allowed to talk, and here it is. So.
That was better. I rolled an 18 on that one. I rolled a 12 on the first one.
Very
middling.
middling.
And then an 8. There we go. Just set that aside.
All right. So, anything else you want to mention before we jump into the summary of this episode?
Another game that I want to play that's a fighting game is The Bouncer, but it's it's more like an RPG. It's not like a fighting game.
Okay.
It's
I know a lot of people liked Sifu, but that's a really hard fighting game.
Mm-hmm. The Bouncer it's famous for two things, at least memed things. One is the main character. Actually, I have the box right behind me. The main character looks like an older Sora. Mm-hmm. And the start of the game is this announcer coming on the screen. There's like no opening cutscene. There's like the Bouncer, and then just waits for you to hit the button to start the game. I didn't realize how this guy doesn't wear a shirt.
Now you know.
Yeah, I just flipped it over. But yeah. I can't think of anything else. We're gonna like revert back to like our TFT grumbles if we keep talking about video games. So
yes. So this episode we open up with Seuss showing off an arcade to Stan and Mabel, and he explains that everything. Oh goodness. I didn't yawn at all earlier. Now here I am. But yes, so he starts explaining to them that everything he's needed to know in life he's learned from video games. The one that I really remember him saying is, if my house is haunted, you just eat the ghosts. And it shows like a knockoff version of Pac-Man.
Mm-hmm. And did you notice the secret character?
In the very, very beginning?
In the very, very beginning.
It's your favorite.
Yeah, the true hero of the story.
But yes, so... Seuss also goes along showing them the tour and says, this is where I learned to dance. And you have Old Man McGucket, like, going all the way at it. And Mabel picks up the plug for it and goes, Seuss? And Seuss is like, let him have this. And it says it's been, like, out of order for some amount of time. And then Stan gets interested in a game that says, insert a coin here. And he goes and puts a coin in and says, you won. He gets really excited, and then it just flashes back, insert coin here. And Stan is like, and then Dipper and Wendy are in some like back cabinet area where some of them are covered with cloths, but they're playing fight fighters. And like we said earlier, it looks very much like Street Fighter, like the aesthetic, the way the characters are dressed, and even like when you go around when you do the solo player campaign. But they named the guys Rumble
McFights. I don't know if that's his name. They did say it. I'll see if I can find it while you're chatting.
Yeah, it's like Rumble McFighters versus Dr. Karate.
Yeah, I do remember Dr. Karate, which is essentially Bison.
Mm-hmm. Because he's got the same kind of suit and stuff like that.
He does Bison's signature move where he just spins around, but he doesn't actually move.
Yeah, Rumble is like Ken. Because at first I was going to say Ryu, but no, he's got the blonde hair and all that. Yeah, because he does the spin up punch. I forget the formal name. And he has the Hadouken.
Which is Fireball. I'm like seeing if I can find it. If I find it, I'll bring it up. He's an
important character. So
Rumble McSkirmish.
Skirmish, that's what it is. So they're playing as these two characters, and Dipper wins the round, and Wendy's like laughing and having a good time. And you see Robbie in the background start putting up posters for his band. It's like Robbie and the Tombstones. And his poster is like a propaganda poster. It's like, I'll kill you, or I forget, or I'll be the death of you, of him pointing at it.
Oh, and you're dead, I think it was.
You're dead. And Dipper makes fun of it, saying like, oh, are you wearing mascara? And he goes, it's like manly eye makeup or something like that. Then Robbie pushes Dipper aside, and Dipper gets upset. He's like, we just started this round. And Robbie's like, I'm just trying to hang out with my girlfriend. And Wendy is just like, letting Dipper get bullied. I don't think she sees it as bullying, but she ends up hanging out with Robbie, and Dipper gets his angry boy eyes and the very dun dun dun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's mascara. It's like, it's eye paint for men. I brought up the transcript.
Yeah, and then Wendy mentions that she's going to be camping with her dad and her family, so she's going to be away for a little bit. But Robbie just goes, okay. And, yeah, so then they flash back to the Mystery Shack, where you see the whole gang playing card games. And then, yeah, Mabel says she claims that she won, and Stan's like, I don't know what we're playing. And Mabel says, I think it's Go Fish. Yeah. And they hear the electric guitar being played outside, so naturally, of course, it's Robbie. Seuss assumes it's a radio station inside of his head, because Seuss is very... Seuss has a lot of great moments this episode.
Yes.
For not really having big parts in the other episodes. He has a lot of great parts in this episode.
He made up for it. Yeah, well, yeah, Mabel also is like, yeah, blink your eyes to see if you can change the channel.
And he strains and he tries to do it. Then yeah, so I watched this last night. I guess I was more tired than I realized when I watched it, but
you shouldn't have listened to the advice like I did.
Watching it ahead of time. Yeah, because I'm blanking on just this little bit of part of what gets Dipper to go outside.
So pretty much like they're sitting there and he's like, no, that's Robbie, and that's when Seuss is like, he's like, oh yeah, no, Stan asks like, oh, isn't that the kid, the twerp who makes goo goo eyes at Wendy? And Seuss like, yeah, he calls me big dude. Hold on, I'm gonna see if I can find it in the transcript what he said. Yeah, change the channel. He's like, he called me big dude once. I mean, I know I'm a big dude, but it kind of hurt. And that's when Mabel's like, should I stick waddles on him again? But but yeah, and then that Dipper's just like, okay, I'll go deal with it, and everyone's like, oh.
Yeah. So then yeah, Dipper goes outside. And Robbie is very much in his usual, like, where's Wendy? Are you with her? And Dipper has to be like, no, she's out camping with her family. She, like, already told us. And then Dipper points out that Robbie never pays attention to Wendy and threatens to pull out his phone to, like, tell Wendy, like, oh, Robbie's not that good of a boyfriend. You know, teenager stuff. So, or no, I'm mixing it up. It's Robbie's phone.
Yeah, Robbie's phone to be like, I bet I can call Wendy right now and get
she'll
a date.
Answer. Yeah. So then Dipper, being Dipper, doesn't know what to do, panics, slaps the phone out of Robbie's hands, accidentally breaking it, and tries to apologize and go like, no, I'll buy you a new one, Robbie. But Robbie goes, decides that he's going to try and start a fight and everything like that, picks up Dipper by the shirt, and then Stan opens the window. He's like, is that a fight? I know a fight when I hear one. Stay right there. But before Stan gets outside, Robbie throws Dipper onto the ground and tells him to meet him at Circle Park at 3, then walks off. And Stan comes out with his popcorn. He was like, oh man, I was going to come out and get my buddies and make some bets. Smart money is on the kid in the tight jeans.
Yes.
But then Dipper gets nervous because he's never been in a fight and he's never been threatened like this before. So Dipper wants to hide, and Stan says he needs to, face it like a man and not be a wimp about it. And Dipper chooses to hide at the arcade. And then we have our kind of cut to our other plot line going on, where we have Mabel trying to fix people, as Mabel does. Mabel is watching a show called Why You Actin' So Cray Cray. And while Stan is fixing something, he needs to go get glue from a shelf but can't reach it. So Mabel mentions, like, why don't you go get a ladder? And Stan gets worried and starts to get uncomfortable about ladders, saying that they're more dangerous in the family home than guns. That's why he owns several guns. So if someone shows up with a ladder, he has all his guns. So the two of them start shouting, why are you acting so cray-cray? And Stan's like, you're acting cray-cray.
I will say that argument, I think I work with some people that would use that argument.
Just back and forth.
No, like I don't own ladders, but I'll shoot a ladder with my gun.
Yeah, so Mabel surmises on her own that he must have a fear of heights, so she's decided to concoct a plan to try and cure him of this. So then, cut back to the arcade, and Seuss is playing a parody of the game Tron, which they called Nort in this. And he's like, you know what? What if I was in a video game? How have I never thought of this sooner? So he opens up the back of the cabinet, unscrews the panel, climbs inside, and goes, yes, I should have thought of this sooner. And then it cuts away, so you don't know what's going to happen to him yet. Mm-hmm. So then Dipper is in his own head. He's upset, so he's trying to play Fight Fighters by himself, the solo campaign, and he just gets his butt beat. Like, he has no chance. And when he goes to put in a quarter for his next life, he leans over and he sees a message for a cheat code to unlock ultimate power, which, you know, very much reference to the classic. Is it for the NES? The old up, down, left, right, BA start?
No, I was scrolling down, and what's funny is Dipper puts in a different code.
No, it's a different code, but it's a reference, right?
No,
they goofed it, you're saying.
No, like, so on the side, like, I scrolled down to see if it was a reference to anything, but but it's like the code that he uses to do what we're just about to talk about is on the machine. It says back, hold, forward, back, forward, down, hold, quarter circle, forward, triple punch. That's what Dipper puts in. The code written on the machine reads back, punch, forward, back, down, kick, quarter circle, forward, triple punch, kick. So, which some people, I just realized, like, that in my head, because I played a little bit of fighting games, but wasn't that good to do all those combos. Pretty much quarter circle means just turning the joystick for neutral.
Yeah.
Like how, like, in sorry, my brain just deleted what I was saying. Like, you quarter, half turn. It's like just something to put in the combo, which is like to mimic the movement. I never was good enough to do it.
No, I wasn't good enough at arcade cabinets to do that either. But I know there are a lot of people that play fighting games and they prefer to have the arcade cabinet controller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see. So,
I was seeing if it was a reference to anything, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like it's...
have you never heard of that code?
The Konami code? The up, down,
That's
down,
what it
A, B,
is,
A, B?
Konami code.
Yeah. No, I definitely heard of that code, but it doesn't...
I mean, it could also be the person that runs the wiki isn't familiar with the Konami. I mean, like, in my heart of hearts, I'm like, oh, that's like the Konami code, but different.
I'm going to copy and paste this code and see if I get any results. So I'll let you know if I find... I got the wiki.
Yeah, like, I don't think that the exact code he puts in...
Wait a second. Hold on. This lines up with Kazuka, who is from Tekken.
Does it really? That's fun.
But the funny thing is, it brought me to the Super Smash Brothers Ultimate link.
That's a weird mix of
hold up. No,
game.
I'm scrolling down, and now it's just bringing up a whole bunch of, like, I have a Mortal Kombat. I have two Mortal Kombat ones. I'm Guilty Gear. I'm getting, like, just
different combos of,
yeah.
Okay.
So, which, when it breaks down to it, like, if you watch, not you specifically have, but anyone listening to this watches, like, streamers or content creators that, like, do fighting games, you learn that normally the combos really aren't that different. It's just like, there might be a little bit of tweaks and stuff there, here and there, to whatever character. It just seems like they put in a fun... It might be a combo to somebody, but I don't know how to search it up easily, especially with the amount of fighting games there are.
I didn't think it was an exact reference to somebody's combo. I just thought it was like their own version of a reference to the Konami code.
It could be.
Yeah. So it says above it, to unleash ultimate power. So he puts the code in because he likes things that are ultimate, end quote. And the screen goes black and it looks like the game shuts off. So he's like, oh, I guess that didn't work. But then a beam of light fires out of the machine, blinding Dipper. And it asks him to select a character. And he's like, Rumble McSkirmish? And then you start to see Rumble leap out of the video game. And Dipper, freaks out and falls backwards and doesn't know what to do about it. And then Rumble starts smashing things. Like, he sees a change machine, he demands power-ups. And then we cut back to being back at home with Mabel trying to help Stan. She shows up to him and is like, the first thing is she gives him the gift, right? The wiki doesn't mention the gift.
Yes. First thing is the gift.
Where she says, it's Great Uncle Day. He goes, oh boy, Great Uncle Day. What did you get me? And he opens it and he goes, high heels. What is this? And she goes, will you not put them on because you're scared? And he's like, what? So then she ultimately ends up finding a show about...
well, it's not the show. He's getting the rabbit ears on the TV to get the signal.
Yes.
And that's when it's like skydiving show, and he's like, ah!
Yeah, he freaks out and gets scared. And Mabel's like, I knew it. I knew you were afraid of heights. So she's made that her whole plot for this episode. And then you cut to in the kitchen. Dipper is talking to Rumble, and Rumble is like saying that he needs things, and Dipper's going through the fridge. He's like, we have half of a old taco. He's like, put it on the floor. And Rumble picks it up into his inventory, and they actually flash his inventory. Mm-hmm. And shows the taco in his inventory.
That kitchen scene has like some of my favorite lines of the episode, which is like, he's like, great, now I must go fight the greatest fighters. Take me to the Soviet Union. And he's like, that's going to be tough for a number of reasons. And then, so anyway, that's all going in there. I think that's when Stan yells or something. He's like, oh no, Stan's coming in. Stand still.
And he's swaying because he's got the fighter stance.
He's doing his idle animation, and he's like, I said stand still. This is as still as I can get. Or something.
Yeah, and then they have the whole discussion in there where Dipper is like, you know what, I can't take you to the Soviet Union, but you could fight Robbie for me. He's like, what is the tragic backstory? What do I have to avenge? He's like, I don't know. He's like, don't tell me. He killed your father. And Dipper's like, yeah. And they give him the flashy animation start.
Yeah.
The quote about the change machine.
Yeah. Change machine, change into a powerful wolf. Ah!
Yeah. And then there is a GIF on Discord of like Dipper hitting the start button that's like flashing in front of him. And then at this point, Dipper hits the button, and then they go walking through town, just go and meet up. Because I think Dipper's also checking his watch, like freaking out. So I think when he first goes to the fighting game, what is it? It was like noon?
Yeah, it was around like 12-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then at this point, as they're walking through town, you start to get an infinite amount of video game references.
Yes.
But the whole time Rumble is trying to ask Dipper for information, and Dipper's like, no, just like scare him a little bit, see if he wets his pants. You don't have to beat him up, you don't have to kill him, you just have to like, scare him. And then Rumble's like, his wet pants will be no threat to my pipe, and pulls out a pipe, and Dipper's like, oh my god, where did you get that?
Can.
No, he says he punched an oil drum and took it from
him.
And then he puts it down, and Dipper's like, no, you don't have to use that. And he goes to the ground and picks up a sword. He's like, how about this? And like starts stabbing frequently. And Dipper's like, oh my god, this road is so dangerous. What is with all this debris?
Which, thinking about those side-scrolling video games, like
the TMNT games and Simpsons and
the X-Men, and it's like, that makes total sense. Like, why is it, one, it's almost like Predator 2 levels of street crime happening.
And they're just leaving it behind for whoever else finds it.
Yeah, well, they're there to stop the big bad. They're not here to clean up the streets. That's what they do later in the later years.
So then, so then we go back to Mabel and Stan. So Mabel's like, let's go for a walk blindfolded. And Uncle Stan, I forget what he says exactly.
Give me a second, I can look it up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. Dipper, will you protect me from Robbie? And then he killed your father. It's like, sure.
Yeah, so, yeah, Mabel, hey, Uncle Stan, would you like to take a walk, nowhere in particular, while wearing a blindfold? He's like, sitting here, Pete's sitting around being old, but then he pauses and then sits back down. Wait a minute, you're not planning to take me somewhere up super high, are you? Uncle Stan, I would never. And then puts
She has her scouts on her sweater.
sweater.
And she turns around, and it has the crossed fingers on the back, and she covers it with her hair. The other part I did forget about to mention is the part I really enjoyed is where Dipper tries to introduce Mabel to Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
And they're up in their room. And
oh, yeah, it just gives him lines to say with his funny voice.
Yeah, Dipper's like, he's like my bodyguard. And Rumble's like, the child gave me a taco. And Mabel's like, say all these things. Effervescent. Apple fritter, riboflavin, and Dipper's like, she's not a toy, and he like says it back, all of these things.
Riboflavin.
And then the final thing she wrote down for him to say was poop and butts.
Yeah. And then tell me
yes.
my opponent's special moves.
So they happen upon the water tower. And then Stan lifts his blindfold and is freaking out, and Mabel starts to really freak out over it. Let's see. And then she's leading him there.
Yeah, it really does bring the question of he gets up to the water tower
and didn't think twice. He was just like, I'm blindfolded. I'm gonna keep climbing this ladder.
Yeah, and then I do like the thing where it's just like, now take off your blindfold, and he's just like, yeah, I should have expected this. And she's just like, why aren't you it's like, okay, now let's go down. And he's just like death gripping the thing.
Yeah, but so Dipper tries to get Robbie to call off the fight himself, saying like, oh, you don't want to mess with me. Robbie's like, no, we're gonna see this through. So then Dipper calls out Rumble, and Rumble immediately goes full on, right? Like, because at first Robbie's like, what's going on here? And then Rumble comes up, and I think his first move is he picks up Robbie and then throws him into like a playground, right? Like,
I think no, he lifts him up. No, he lifts him up in the air.
Oh, and throws him on the ground.
Yeah,
a full body slam.
Yeah, well, like I think it just starts off with him holding up in the air, and that's when Dipper's like, "Yeah, how do you like it?" And then it's just like face plant into the ground, just like throws him. Just like, "Whoa, hold up."
Yeah, and Dipper tries to like cool it off and say like, "You don't have to kill him. You just had to scare him." And Rumble's like, "No, I cannot complete this until he is dead, for he has killed your father."
I think Robbie's just like, wait, what?
Yeah, because Robbie ends up eventually like on top of like the kids thing, and then he does the fireball Hadoken, and Robbie's like, oh my god, this guy's crazy, and starts to run away and hide in the forest as he keeps like launching more fireballs and breaking down trees to get to Robbie.
Yeah, that's when Dipper's like, you're only supposed to scare him. You almost killed him. He's like, I will not rest until the man who dishonored you was destroyed. And he punches the band poster and then yells as he just chases after him, punching everything.
Yeah. So
that does remind me of something with the posters that we didn't mention earlier. Mm-hmm. With pretty much he's in the arcade, and that's what right before he summons Rumble, and Dipper's just like, what am I gonna do? I can't fight him. And then it's like he's everywhere, and he looks up and he sees the wall full of Robbie's posters just saying you're dead, pointing at him, and he's like, ah!
So they end up at a Barrels and Crates Incorporated, and then you have a fun little Donkey Kong reference of Rumble throwing barrels down at Robbie as Robbie's trying to jump over them, and then they even animated the little points for him jumping over the various barrels. And then Robbie eventually does manage to kind of keep running and escaping from him, but Rumble's not stopping. And I forget, so the description doesn't tell me when it cuts back to the arcade, but there's a point when they cut back to the arcade and Seuss is stuck in the game, and the guy tries to play the Nort game, and Seuss is like, it's not what it's cracked up to be. Help, I'm stuck.
Yeah,
I'm so bored.
I'm scrolling through the transcript. That happens right before. So it happens after Rumble's like, I need a power up, and they go back to the Mystery Shack. It's like as they're leaving, that's when Seuss is like, yeah, it's like, oh, I'm trying to game is cool in theory, but practice is really boring, and the man freaks out and runs.
It just screams.
And then and then back to where we were.
Mm-hmm. Where Seuss helps give Dipper a ride and is pulling off bits of the Nort game that got stuck to him from being in it to help him catch up. And then I jumped a little bit ahead here where, so they're at the water tower. Stan takes off his blindfold and, like you said, immediately grips the handrail and is like freaking out. While he's freaking out, Robbie ends up climbing the water tower to get away from Rumble. And Mabel and Grunkle Stan are just like, oh my god. And Robbie's like, what's going on? So Dipper keeps on trying to get Rumble to stop and Rumble manages to knock Robbie off of the water tower and catches him, nearly kills him. But Dipper interrupts and goes, you know what, Rumble? I lied to you. This man did not kill my father. And then you have the whole beautiful monologue that I don't want to mess up because I feel like I've been tripping up this episode. But where is...
It's all good. At least you're not coughing.
Okay, so Rumble's like, you're the bad guy? And he puts Robbie up on a tree and goes, my entire journey, a lie. My honor has been insulted. Sensei warned me not to join the path of evil. The boy has led me astray from my teachings. And turns to look at Dipper. If Robbie is not this last stage, then it must be you. It freaks out. And then the start button appears next to Dipper. And Seuss is like, man, don't do it. You're going to die.
Yeah. Well, he's thing. And he gets started like, fight like a man it is. I have everybody like, wouldn't you rather just hide like a wimp? And then hit start, fight like a man it is. And he just looks so happy with his choice.
Yeah, so Dipper's like, I gotta do this. I gotta stand up for it. I did this. So...
I like Dipper's first fighting stance.
Yeah, Dipper's fighting stance is he goes from like leaning all the way forward with two fists in front of him, and then he looks at Rumble, and they have their health bars above them, and then he looks at Rumble, and then he tries to mimic it as best as he can. Mm-hmm. So Rumble starts just generally like going for general combos or whatever, and
general combos. The first thing he does, according to the transcript, is fireball throwing, lightning ball throw.
Yeah, but like he hurts Dipper pretty badly, but Dipper's not dead yet. So Dipper thinks he has a fighting chance, and he tries to replicate the spinning like uppercut, and he feels good because he hits Rumble, and it does what, like 0.5% damage. And Dipper's like, oh.
I still like the line like after the first thing is like, you fight like a girl who is also a baby.
That's a good classic one, yes. And then so then Seuss has like he's recording it too, like he's got his phone, he's like taking pictures of it and tries to climb a tree and see if he can erase Rumble's health bar. He's like, oh, worth the shot. Mm-hmm. And then Dipper keeps running away, ultimately climbing a tree, and Rumble is like, I don't have a look-up animation.
Yeah, it's like he's gonna break his neck. It's like
straining
his
and
neck.
Then ends up falling to fall 2D onto the ground. Mm-hmm. So Dipper and Seuss are kind of laughing at him like, oh, okay, maybe I can put him like up on my wall or something. But then he ends up being able to materialize back into 3D and does his Superpower Ninja Turbo Neo Ultra Hyper Mega Multi Alpha Meta Extra Uber Prefix combo, knocking out Dipper, obviously. And then Rumble gloats in victory, thinking, that he finally wins. And then he says his line that he's been saying throughout the shows, winners don't lose.
Yes.
And Dipper's like, I don't know about that. And then the game over screen pops up, and then Rumble starts to dematerialize to get forced back into the game. Mm. And then I think Dipper makes the comment like, game over, dude. And Seuss is like, nice. And they high five over it. But then we go back to Stan and Mabel on the water tower, and Stan's like, you know what? Nothing bad happened while I was up here. I have conquered my fear of heights, and starts to climb down the ladder. He's like, come on, Mabel. And Mabel is gripping the water tank. She doesn't know what to do. And Stan is like, oh, did you develop a fear of heights?
Yeah. like their whole storyline reminds me of an Always Sunny episode where it's just like the Always Sunny. That's like you always split up like the main four. Two of them have one viewpoint, the other two have the other viewpoint, and by the end of the episode, they end up switching their viewpoints.
Mm-hmm.
While Danny DeVito's just running around doing chaos,
causing chaos for people. Yeah. So Dipper goes to Robbie and says, okay, you can go ahead and beat me up. And Robbie's like, I don't think I will. And Wendy happens to return from camping at that moment and gets really suspicious. She's like, are you two fighting? And they're like, no, as you see death and destruction around them, and Dipper has a black eye. Mm-hmm. And Wendy's like, I hate when guys fight. And they're like, yeah, no, we don't fight. We don't do that. No. And then Wendy's like, you know what? I'm really happy that my boys are getting along, but I gotta go unpack some stuff. And she goes to leave. And Dipper looks at Robbie. He's like, did you hear that? I'm one of her boys. And Robbie's like, oh my God, shut up. And Dipper was like, you know what? If we don't get our acts together, we both lose Wendy. So you know what we're going to have to do? And Robbie's like, I don't want to be friends with you. He's like, no, we don't have to be friends. We can just hate each other in secret. And Robbie's like girls do? And Dipper's like, yes, like girls do. So then you have Wendy telling like silly stories about like, I'm assuming her siblings or of the other guy in the friend group. I forgot.
I think
what
it's
name
the other
she
guy.
says.
Hold on, I have the link right here. It's Thompson, the guy who drives the van. Yeah. Can you guys stop punching the roof? My mom's Thompson.
So then Wendy's telling the story, and Robbie and Dipper are putting on the fake, ha ha ha, you're so funny, ha ha. And then Wendy drops her hairbrush because she was brushing her hair, and the two of them death glare at each other. Mm-hmm. And then Wendy comes back up, they go, oh, you're so funny, Wendy.
The other thing that I think is important is like before Wendy comes back, this is when Dipper's just like, after Rumble disappears, Robbie's like, I'm gonna still punch you, whatever. And then he brings up the good line, which is a very good thing that not a lot of people have been asking, is why is it whenever you're around, ghosts or monsters always are there, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And so, but that's when Robbie's gonna like, okay, I'm gonna beat you up, and Dipper's just like, yeah, okay, whatever, and just do whatever, like just get it over with. And then he's like, no, I'm not gonna run, punch you. And then that's when he's like, I was just trying to scare you. Like, that's not what he says, but it's just
yeah, because Dipper, Robbie's like, you're not gonna like run away, and Dipper's like, no, and he was like, you're not gonna like beg me to stop, and he's like, no, and Robbie's like, this isn't fun, I don't want to do this.
I wanted to scare, not actually be mean.
Yeah. So then so you and Dipper explains, he's like, we're gonna have a Cold War pact, and Robbie's like, okay, what does that mean? I don't get it. Hate each other in secret. Then we have the credit scene, which I love, where you have a pixelated version of Gravity Falls, and then you have the Dipper, Mabel, Stan, and Wendy show up as like little cute pixelated versions of them, and they make it look kind of like a Super Mario map too. Mm-hmm. And then you hover over Dipper, and it says, I have shorts and determination. And you hover over Mabel, it's a Mabel. And then Stan is like, I'm slower, but I jump higher. And Wendy's like, pick me or whatever. And then Seuss's giant head, like in Pac-Man, shows up and eats each of the characters. And Seuss wakes up and goes, just like real life. And goes chomp, chomp, chomp.
He's like, alas, 'twas not but a dream. And then goes back to bed.
And this chomping.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anything else you wanted to mention this episode?
I think we mentioned all the stuff.
Yeah, I guess I'll do the quick recap of continuity, because they do like to do that for us in the wiki. Yeah.
Let's see. So I have it right here. Okay. So this is the only time they're seen in the arcade. Seuss reveals to Dipper that teenage hormones turn into killing machines are considered dangerous. He also reveals that he has a cousin named Reggie who once got beaten up by a teenager and broke both his arms and legs. This is the first time Rumble McSkirmish is seen outside the game in the series, which I can only think of maybe one other place that he shows up.
He's in one of the earlier episodes as like a fighters reference, I thought.
Yeah, but this is the first time outside the game.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then this is also when Dipper tells everyone that he has anthropophobia, which is the fear of fighting. Yeah, and then let's see, Robbie's revealed to have anxiety when Wendy is not in the mystery shack. Does it?
Yeah.
It's a little bit weird. Like, that whole Robbie thing is like he decides to come here and plays the music, and it's just like he doesn't know where she lives.
Yeah. Well, I guess it was working hours, maybe, possibly.
Yeah.
The fear.
Yeah,
of
we
heights.
already mentioned that one. Mabel learns that Stan has acrophobia, fear of heights. Manly Dan is okay. So this is apparently the first time where Manly Dan is revealed to be Wendy's father.
Yeah, because he's in the back of the scene when she says she's back from the camping trip.
And then Dipper and Robbie learn to see, which we just mentioned. So, and then the continuity, the arcade in this episode was also seen in the episode before when Blandon tries to escape. And it shows an image of the arcade on his suit. Robbie and Wendy continue a relationship, which starts in the previous episode. Waddles attacking Robbie once again, which we knew. And now it shows that Waddles resides with the Pines family after that episode. And then the muffin is back.
Yes.
I will say that one of the things that I noticed is that there was, as Hop did mention, there's a ton of video game references. So there's the code, which could be Konami code or just basic fighter combos. There's the Super Mario reference when it's barrels and something incorporated. I forgot what it was called.
Barrels and crates, yeah.
Yeah. And then what was it? Pretty much, I think it's when Rumble wins the fight with Dipper, he is doing the Akuma fight animation, like win animation, where he's just standing with his back and the tattoos like glowing, which is, I don't know. It is funny to think of that because like Akuma, I believe in Street Fighter is like, he's like a playable
demon
character. Yeah, he's a demon, like he's part demon, but then he's also like one of the evil dudes.
There's like 3 or 4 playable guys that are actually like the antagonists of that campaign.
Mm-hmm.
But there is, in the list of illusions, they do kind of summarize it. So they say Rumble McSkirmish, his attacks are primarily based on Ryu and Ken. Dr. Karate's uniform and attacks are from Bison, but he has Guile's haircut.
I did notice that, but I forgot because I didn't see a picture of him.
Beastor, Sagesica, and N Buffalo names are based on Blanca, Chun-Li, and Bison. Then you have the actual games in the arcade. Nort is like Tron. Hoedown Hero is probably Guitar Hero mixed with DDR. Ghost Maze is Pac-Man. Nerd Punch is likely Punch-Out. Frog Time, oh, that's right. Crossing the street as a frog is Frogger. Pizza Time, Burger Time. And then when Dipper is talking about power-ups to Rumble, pizza boxes are talked about, so TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games, and then gold rings are mentioned, so Sonic the Hedgehog. The plane that flies across the map in the Fighter scene, character select screen when Dipper is playing solo, is from Street Fighter 2. Picking up garbage off the street to use as weapons is Streets of Rage. The throwing the barrels is Donkey Kong. Apparently there's a reference to Street Fighter 2 and Final Fight for Rumble punching the car in the bonus round.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. That was a big one that we didn't mention in the recap, but yeah, that's I do remember that because that's like a big memed thing from that game where it's just like you get like halfway through and then it's just like punch a car and like you have to like destroy the car. And, like, if you don't know combos, you're just not going to be able to do it. And so, like, but I think you have, like, 30 seconds to destroy the car. And then if you know, like, combos you can do it in like 10.
Okay. Finish him. Oh, sorry. Is shouted when Rumble is fighting Robbie, i.e. the Mortal Kombat, like your coworker mentioned. Yeah, and you, like you said, the glowing red symbol on his back is a reference to Akuma from Street Fighter.
Apparently that translates to fart in Japan. It's the Japanese symbol that translates to fart.
Beautiful. And then, yeah, the character select screen in the outro credits, it's specifically Super Mario's 2. And, yeah. And then it says the cryptogram that appeared at the end of the episode is sorry, Dipper, but your Wendy is in another castle. Famous reference to when Toad always tells Mario, thank you, Mario, but our princess is in another castle.
Yeah, so this is a fun one, and it's like, I guess it's also
pretty nostalgic.
Yeah. It's like, I always find it interesting when there's like in video games or in media where there's references to like games that I know about, because I'm just thinking of like Ready Player One, where it's like the older, like, even though I know a lot of the movies that is being referenced in there, even though I don't know, I didn't really enjoy it. I thought it was a neat thing, but I'm like, I
didn't watch Ready Player One.
I didn't watch it. I read the book, yeah, and it's like the book. I heard someone say that and like I agree with this take, but he was like, the writer goes into great detail about living out movie scenes and playing the like the old video game like Joust and trying to figure that out.
And then
but then all the puzzles is like, so I just did it.
Yeah, and it's a lot of references to old D&D stuff as well and all that. And yeah, for me, I felt like I didn't know who the target audience was for Ready Player One, because he would explain leet speak, right? He was like, oh, the 3s are E's, don't get it twisted, but then would talk about other things without explaining them at all. Like you said, Joust, like he was only vaguely introducing that. And then I think the worst part about the puzzle things to me is, spoiler for Ready Player One, zoom forward 30 seconds if you don't want to hear it, is when he goes, I'm a pro hacker, and by hacking, he puts a USB into a wall and goes to sleep and wakes up. You're not a hacker. You bought that.
It's the same thing as people say, oh man, you hacked the Facebook. No, they just left their Facebook open in the dorm
and left
room.
the password in, yeah. But anyway, so
but yeah, it feels like Ready Player One, and I know that's not what the whole point of this episode is, but it feels like a guy had a big nostalgia trip and forced a lot of other people that really enjoyed it to go on that nostalgia trip. And
made a lot of money. Yeah. I heard the second book's not very good.
It doesn't really surprise me, because it's like, it felt like the story ended.
Yeah.
I will admit, though, it did force me to look up Baroque, because I'm like, I heard this term, but what
does it mean when they actually reference it in like
an
era,
so like I was
like that?
Yeah, I was like, what is a Baroque painting? And then I'm like, and like now I'm like, you know what? I guess like the way how they described how like everyone is in that world picture perfect, and then this person looks like a Baroque painting would stick out. But it's just like, how does this person that like, because his parents I think would be like around our age, because when the whole internet and world just like dies and they go into Oasis, and it's just like when things were nice, it's like, how like you how'd you look up this thing? Because like all your knowledge that you said is all based off of 80s pop culture.
It is weird, but all right, backtracking to where we are, who was your favorite character this episode?
Oh man, okay, it's a tie between two different, actually.
One of them, Seuss.
Yes.
Seuss
is one.
Seuss is up there for me for this episode.
Seuss is one. I really like Rumble. He was funny, and then I also enjoyed I don't know, Grunkle Stan. Like I just like his character a lot. But I think Rumble. I liked Rumble a lot because of what how he interacted with this world.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, I don't know. I think if, and I think that's why I liked him so much, and I had fun because it was just like, yeah, you took a fighting game character out
Force
of
them into 3D.
yeah, and it's like, what do you expect to happen? And so, and there's been other storylines kind of like that, but I don't know. This is just fun, and I think I also am like, I recognize that reference. There is, and like Grunkle Stan's storyline is great, but
He had character growth.
he did at the detriment of his niece, but, or great niece, and I think I'm gonna just have to go with Seuss. He just rocked it, just
Yeah, I think Seuss for me as well, because Seuss didn't have an important plot point, but he just, his little moments were really too good.
mm-hmm. It's like, would you like a plucky sidekick with a pickup truck? Yeah. How about you? Who would you be most like? Well, I think.
So we have Dipper, who avoids his problems and then ultimately ends up facing them and dealing with them and coming up with a solution. You have Mabel, who's trying to fix everybody and gets herself hurt in the process. I think my explanation of that might be me being Mabel this episode. You have Grunkle Stan, who is avoiding things because he thinks he's afraid of them, to find out he's not actually scared of them. He just thought he was scared of things. You have Seuss, who is in his own bubble, as usual, but does come at the assistance of others when he realizes, time for me to stop goofing off. Let me actually participate and help people. You have Rumble, who is displaced and doesn't know what's going on and is trying to find his purpose on all of this, right? Because he was forced to do the same thing over and over again, and now he's like, how do I exist like this? And then you have Robbie, who is in his own head. Like, everything, Robbie is just selfish, right? But he is willing to listen to Dipper because he cares about Wendy enough. You have Wendy, who is oblivious and just wants everyone to get along.
She sees the best in people.
And then you have Waddles, who just hung out this episode. I think I have to be most like Mabel this episode.
Oh, a double Mabel.
Double Mabel back to back.
Double Mabes. Now I'm curious what the next episode is. I was like, can we get a triple?
Oh, baby, a triple.
Oh.
So who do you think you're most like?
Cypher. Bill Cypher.
You're stuck. You're like Seuss, but for only part of the episode.
I got bored and left. No, the real problem is if I say that answer for later episodes.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Next episode's a good episode, too.
I saw it, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, we say that about every single episode.
They're all good episodes.
They're all good episodes, and we just forget about them until we're like, oh, yeah. And I saw it and was like, no, I'm not going to say it. I'm not gonna
I
say
said it.
And then, yeah. So, if I had to guess who I'm most like, I think I need to explain my answer, and I'm going to say Rumble. Because even though I'm not violent and will destroy... Well, I don't know. I guess it depends on who
Depends
you're
on the
talking
game, yeah.
Depends on the game, but it's like, Rumble, he gets in there, he hears about a problem, and he wants to fix it, to preserve honor, but he's like... He just dives right into it. And I'm just like... As I mentioned before, and Hop has heard the whole thought process of me of, I want to fix something, or this is what I want to work on, and instead of thinking out a plan, I just dive right into it. So I think with how Rumble works of, I'm going to fix it by just doing it.
I'm going to keep, like... trying and trying.
Yes. Until it's like I complete it, or it's very obvious. No more. And so I think but of course, like, the way Rumble does that is that he's going to punch the world and
set it on fire, literally.
Which It just reminded me, I am on record saying that if Skynet took over, I would be on their side. So, another thing that will disavow me from running for president.
All right, so
I'm not like those other religious weirdos. I believe in Skynet. What?
Wait a second. But yeah, so I think we covered everything for this episode. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
My brother sent me a code to fix Firefox.
Fun.
Also, next week's episode, once again, I literally called this one out. So it's going to be fun. So prepare to hear another fact that I already said.
All right. So yeah, so we always appreciate if you listen this far. Wow, words. To double appreciate if you leave a rating or review on whatever your preferred podcast listening service is. Triple appreciate if I have two fingers up. Triple appreciate if you leave comments, like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Quadruple like if you share us with friends, enemies, fighting game characters that have come into the 3D world. We'll take anybody, everybody.
Or else. So, until next time, bye-bye.